you never think as a business owner the absolute need of having relationship with a bank and how that can actually add value to your business. Jill was super intentional about that and getting connected to farmers and asking questions and teams and, taking out loans. I mean, we took out loans through farmers, but having, each person that we would encounter, give us the wisdom that we needed to,
move forward
and become successful. And so
you're listening to the Isn't That Rich podcast, and we're your hosts, Jill Franks
and Ashley McVicker. As young females in the banking industry, we love simplifying the confusing yet everyday questions you have about money.
Like, how do I get my finances in order?
Where is my money really going?
How do I invest for my future?
How do I make my money work for me?
Can I really afford to buy that new home?
These are the questions that keep us up at night. And the truth is, no one was born knowing how to handle their finances.
And chances are, walking into a bank to ask for help seems intimidating.
Whether you're a single person in your early 20s saving for your first home,
or you're an empty nester wondering what to do with that extra spending cash,
this is the podcast for you. And today we have a very special guest with us. He has actually recently joined our marketing department at Farmers State Bank. He is very well known in Southern Illinois for his amazing photography, marketing skills, and his coffee shop.
So our relationship with our guest started long before he was an employee at the bank, but today we are having him on as a guest wearing his small business hat. So we welcome business owner of Crown Brew Coffee, Jared Gravatt, to our podcast. So welcome, Jared.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Yeah, we can't wait to see where this podcast episode takes us.
I know. We have no idea. It could be a wild ride, guys.
Yeah.
So Jared, tell us a little bit about yourself, your career path. I feel like you've just been all over and done like 5 trillion things and been to 5 trillion places, and you're just really creative. So just tell us, I don't know, you may have a super long story.
Yeah, it's been a wild journey, kind of figuring out what I like, what I'm good at. I just try a bunch of things, see what sticks and what doesn't. But, I grew up here in Marion, Illinois. Love it. This is my home. But I moved away for a while after high school. I did some nonprofit work in Texas for a few years and really loved it. Got to travel the world and get to experience some really amazing cultures and just loved, what, how nonprofit work, added value to places and people in need. And so that really created that passion in me to just impact people in a positive way. And then after that, I lived in Kansas City. A lot of my friends moved there and I just wanted to be close to them. I ended up selling used cars for a few years.
I did not know that about you.
Yeah. Anything to pay the bills.
Well, I feel like that could be great sales experience.
You know what? It was amazing. And the company was called CarMax, which is a top 500 company. And so their, development, when I was in my interview, I'm like, listen, I don't know anything about cars. I really don't even like cars. I was just honest. And they're like, that's okay, because, perfect. What we value most is how you connect with customers and lowering walls and being authentic and real and all those kinds of things. So I was like, all right, I can do that. And so it's actually a really amazing learning opportunity about sales and just connecting with people, learning their needs and wants and all those kinds of things. So I appreciated this season. Now in Kansas City, they had a lot. I don't know if you guys have ever been to Kansas City, but it's pretty saturated in craft coffee, really good coffee. And, so many of my friendships, we had really deep, meaningful connections over a cup of coffee at a coffee shop. And I was just so fascinated and intrigued by how a coffee shop added value to a neighborhood or a community. It impacted me. And so I just loved it. Loved, what it did and how it hosted so many different types of people. Coffee is such that neutral thing for all different types of people and cultures and stuff.
Yeah, kind of a common ground for everyone.
Yeah, exactly. And so anyways, through a series of events, I ended up moving back home to Southern Illinois. I just felt like I just wanted to be closer to family. I felt like there was opportunity here. And I didn't really know, what I was doing kind of at first, but, one of the things I wanted to see was a really great local craft coffee shop. It didn't really exist. And I didn't know the first thing to do. But anyways, I was speaking. I was hired as a photographer for this charity in Chicago called Watts of Love, where we delivered these like solar powered lights to these villages in Africa, and like taught them how they can actually use the lights to like make money and invest and buy goats and chickens and all these kinds of things. So it was really a fascinating experience.
Well, because that's how they sustain their life, is through that kind of trade, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so I was speaking at a conference about it. And anyway, there's this guy in the lobby selling fair trade merch and bags of beans from Guatemala. Connected with him, and I was like, what's your story? And he was selling these beans, and the proceeds were going towards like helping, rescue women from human sex trafficking, which I love, for-profit businesses like creating like impact for like nonprofit organizations. So we connected. Anyways, we got Thai food, and he's like, so what's your heart for this region? I had just shared, everything that I wanted to see happen here. And he was like, what are you doing about it? And I was like, nothing. And that like really struck me, because I was like, so often, we can have these big visions, but we don't do anything about it because, we're afraid or whatever. And he's like, do you want to do something about it? Let's start a coffee company. And I was like, sure. I'm, just a broke millennial. I've got literally nothing to lose, let's try it. Yeah. And started Crown Brew, and it just kind of took off and has been, really successful in the region, and it's been amazing. Yeah.
That's so cool. So the guy you're talking to is your partner?
Yeah, is my partner, Josh Benetone.
Yeah. I think that story is amazing. And that the fact that you were able to take action so quickly is pretty incredible.
Yeah. Someone had said something to me, and it really impacted my life. It was this mentor of mine. And he said, Jared, to a smart crow, a scarecrow is an opportunity. And I like had to think about that for a while, because if you think about it, starting a business or doing something new that never has happened before, that's really intimidating. It's scary. It's a scarecrow. But a lot of times, when you embrace those things, right underneath that fear, so to speak, is fruit, is the harvest. And so it was kind of one of those opportunities where I'm like, this seems like a scarecrow. I bet there's actually something really amazing underneath that if I just push through that fear and, go for it.
That's
so
awesome.
Yeah. And so it just was kind of those, like, I don't have anything to lose. Like, let's do it. Let's try it, see if it works.
So when you first started the coffee shop, it was in Carterville, Illinois, correct?
Yes.
So, and you probably knew nothing about business.
Absolutely nothing. So. Yeah. No degree, and business, nothing like that.
So it's kind of just starting from scratch.
Exactly.
So what was that like, starting from scratch, especially from a financial standpoint? And you don't have to say the bank you used unless you used us. I don't know from the beginning, but like, what did that look like? Just starting a business with a bank. Yeah.
So we went through one of those like huge nation banks. I think it was like Bank of America or something.
Yeah.
Big bank, zero relationship whatsoever. We just did what we thought we knew best. Opened up accounts, and everything that we did was really self-taught. We made a lot of mistakes, but learning from those mistakes, growing from those mistakes, trying to get business mentors to kind of help us. So yeah, it was at the very beginning was like a huge learning curve for us. And, it was really lonely. When you start a business, it's isolating, and, it's people don't always share with you the things that you need to know and do. And so a lot of what you're doing at the beginning is making those mistakes and learning from them, and then adapting to that. Yeah.
So you guys just went in, and did you have to take out any loans or anything when you started your business for, I don't know, equipment or what? I mean, because there's a lot that goes into building a coffee shop, and I know the equipment's not cheap. So did you take out a business loan, or how did that work for you? Did you have to?
Yeah, at the beginning, we started everything with just like a few $1,000s that we had saved up.
Wow.
And kind of grew organically. We didn't everything that we did was like manual brew. And that one reason was because, it's all we could afford.
Yeah.
And so my whole thing was like, let's make the best out of what we have and go from there and let it grow organically.
Were you always, so when you open that, because this is always gets me, is how it just really worked out for your space in Carterville. Like, because before that, were you a subscription service or something like that? I feel like I remember meeting with Josh about that.
Yeah,
like way early on.
We were all just online, and we like sold our beans at like a mercantile store.
Okay.
And honestly, we just kind of were like forced into the coffee shop space that we were in. It like kind of happened super fast for us. Like, it wasn't in our business plan to start a coffee shop, pretty soon. But, but we started off online e-commerce and just kind of shipped our beans, different places.
That's so cool. I know when we can talk a little bit about how Farmers State Bank and Crown Brew started building our relationship. But I remember right when I first started with Farmers State Bank, Charlie Holland actually messaged me. He's like, hey, check out this new coffee service. They seem to have like the same values, Christian values and heart of service. And so I just really want you to check them out. And so I went online and I actually reached out to Josh. I was like, hey, come meet me. We might, because Ashley, I want to have a gifting service, someday. So my thought is like, oh my goodness, these guys have this coffee, we should buy it and put in our Christmas gift for our employees. And so Josh actually came into my office and he walked in. I was like just new and I had a bottle of kombucha. And so like immediately he's like, oh yeah, that's kombucha, huh? And so we built our relationship off of a bottle of kombucha sitting on my desk. But it was really cool to get to know him. But I don't even think you guys had opened the store yet or the storefront at that point. So that was pretty neat.
And Jill, you're from bigger cities, or you've lived in bigger cities, and so you're used to kind of having that like mom and pop shop vibe. And not that we don't have those around here, but like we didn't really have a coffee shop until Crown Brew started. So you were like really interested in that because you're like, I love these like really cute small businesses, like, because you don't just want your town to be full of franchises.
No, I think a small business is so important, like the experience that you can have, like you said earlier when you talked about building that community, because when you're in a bigger city, where do you find those relationships? It's so hard, and so often you don't have them. So I was all for Crown Brewer, and right when I found out about it, so I was excited to hear that. Yeah. But
so I want to talk more, because I feel like you've told me the story, and you've told me the story of kind of how, you moved buildings and you moved to, what street are you on now? You're on the square, right?
Union Street.
You're on Union Street. Yeah. Yeah. Union Street. So kind of how did all that play out, happen, moving buildings? Why did that happen? And then your guys' relationship, how did that get built?
Yeah.
Well, at the beginning, I'll backtrack back in Carterville when we opened up our shop, Jill, you were coming in and, I think a thing about having a business is so many people come in asking for, free stuff or, sponsorships. It's this really like fake, superficial, like, I can move your business over here type of thing. But it was so different. Like with Jill, like she was so curious about the business and getting to know us and developing friendship with us and constantly coming in and just, getting to know us. That value, this was before we were even customers with Farmers, but that intentionality, immediately we were sold and moved all of our stuff over to Farmers because, that relationship was so authentic and genuine, and the team that you would bring in and the people, you're like, this is going to add value to my business. I didn't realize, you think just opening up a bank account, you just need it to transfer money in and out, but you never think as a business owner, the absolute need of having relationship with a bank and how that can actually add value to your business. And so, Jill was super intentional about that and getting connected to Farmers and asking questions and teams and, taking out loans. I mean, we took out loans through Farmers, but having, each person that we would encounter, give us the wisdom that we needed to,
move forward
and become successful. And so I feel super just, thankful for that intentionality as a business owner, because it has helped us in so many different ways, more than what we, realize. And I'm like, I wonder how many small business owners out there are banking with these big banks, and that's fine. But actually banking with a community bank like Farmers is going to add so much value to your business.
And to the community.
Absolutely. And I'm a firm believer in like, I don't want you to shop at my coffee shop because it's good to quote shop local. I want you to shop at my coffee shop because it's the best and it's better than some of these bigger chains. And it's the same. I'm the same way when it comes to like anything that I put value to. I'm not going to bank with a local bank because it's good to quote shop local. I want to bank with somebody that's like adding more value. And Farmers was doing that more than these big banks. Like they were adding value not only to just help answer questions, but like financial wisdom and all those kinds of things. And, even recently, over the years with our friendship and stuff, I'm sure you're probably not this way with other customers. This is before I started working at Farmers, but you're like, we're doing this profit first class, we're signing you up. You need to be a part of it. We want you part of this. And honestly, I'm so thankful for that, of just that intentionality of like, hey, this is something we're doing. This is going to add value to your business. Like we're inviting you into this. And so I'm just, so thankful for that.
And that the bank even knows your name and knows your business. Because someone could so easily not have invited you to that or brought you into those things that, like you said, add value to you.
Yeah.
And I think you said something really important earlier, and I think a lot of small businesses can relate to this, is when you're in a small business, it's lonely. You don't have the answers. You don't know what your next step is or how to even get access to the things you need for your small business. And I think it was really important when I genuinely loved going to the coffee shop, and I would tell everybody I could to go there and experience it for themselves, and I think like my main goal in that was literally to bring you guys value and support you in that. I remember some of the first events we held at Crown Brew. I think we sponsored like a coffee happy hour where we're just like, let's get people in this shop to support them, and hopefully we can draw traffic there, and maybe they can have a record day or something. And so we would we bought coffee for like 3 hours for whether it was Nurses Day or whatever it was. I know even over in Carterville, we did that when you were back in your first space. So it's been really fun, that journey of like, what value can we bring you, and not just as a company, like you said, take sponsorships. Can we ask you to do this, or can you provide this for your community? But like, how can we support you in what you're doing?
Yeah.
Where you are. So I thought that was really interesting.
Exactly. And, it showed us that like, you value our success, because our success as a customer is your success. And so you knew that it was like authentic, like you cared about us having the resources and the needs to become successful,
Yeah.
And to me, that's like so valuable as a business owner, because it really is so lonely and isolating. And there's always that kind of like shame of like, asking for help or asking for wisdom and those kinds of things. But I think the way that the bank has like been like, there's no dumb questions, like ask questions, get to know, like learn about everything that we're offering, because it's going to add more value to your business.
You eventually made your way from your Carterville location into Marion. Can you talk a little bit about that experience? Because I know that's like really was a turning point for us in our relationship when you started building your new space.
Yeah. So during, COVID, we were, weren't able to stay in our current location in Carterville. And that whole situation was very unfortunate. It was like we were at the peak of our success, and then all of a sudden we're like homeless as a company. Panic mode, And so we had all these like coffee carts and, set up at different like businesses and locations.
Well, I just have to talk about this meeting. Do you remember when, so Justin, who I don't remember exactly what he was doing, but he was in charge. I know he came to Farmers State Bank, and you guys were doing like a fundraiser for somebody in the community where they would do like a $1 match or something for every coffee bought. And that was the reason why you guys came in to Farmers State Bank that day was to talk about that and how we could partner in that. And what ended up happening was so much different. I mean, our meeting, I remember Tom Tom, my husband, was at the bank, and I was like, oh, you need to come in and meet these guys. They've got a great heart. Like, I just think you would really be impressed with what they're doing and how they're helping the community. And so he came and he listened to you guys. And this is like in that moment of transition where you're like a month and a half away from like losing the space, or not losing the space, but yeah, I mean, you were kind of, where do we go from here? And so that changed so much. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah,
though?
I do. Yeah. That was such a good meeting and emotional. I think like Tom cried. I think we were crying, just like the heart, I love, you're in Tom's heart about just community and impact for people and that kind of stuff. And that was just impressive to us. Yeah. But yeah. So anyways, we were like, we're kind of homeless as like a business right now. And, and then what was it, like 2 weeks later?
Well, Tom's like, well, I would love to partner with you on this fundraising thing, but I think you got bigger fish to fry. He's like, I think you need to focus on finding a location. So let's help you do that first. And then we'll get to the fundraising and the contributing later on. And so I think he like got on the phone with his realtor and was like, let's find you a space. And like, it was just so interesting. When you get to know a community bank, you are literally sitting down face to face with the owners of the bank when you did that. So that was really interesting.
So literally like 2 weeks later, we get this call. We bought this building in hopes that you'll open up a coffee shop inside.
You're like, okay, I guess we will.
But I mean, as a total miracle, like act of God, we were proactively looking at buildings, looking for, all of these things. And for me, I am so unbelievably picky about aesthetic and architecture and all those kinds of things. And so what was amazing is like this building was like just perfect, for what we would want our business to like be in. And so, from that point,
was it?
Yeah, well, let's talk about what it was.
About what it used to be. Tell the crowd.
Potential.
So it wasn't even for sale, by the way.
It was not for sale.
So Tom, when we had that first meeting, he put his realtor, he put his nose to the ground to find us a space, because there was a couple of things that you wanted, or like you saw for a vision for what this could be for the community. And one of the important things you guys mentioned was you wanted to be on the square. You wanted to be like revitalizing the square. We were really on board with that. And so there was nothing for sale at that time.
No.
I mean, we looked at so many different properties, like at the Vault Cafe, we looked and that wasn't for sale. And we looked all over the place. We looked at all the buildings, honestly, we did. And so we literally put in this offer, and it was a bar. It was Union Street Pub or something like that. Yeah. And so we made an offer and got the building fairly reasonably priced. And we were like, hey, we found it. Like, let's go look at it. See if we can make this work. I don't know. It was funny.
Yeah. But I mean, it was amazing. I mean, like, how amazing though, that like the owner of the bank would care so much about your business that they would go out of the way and place an offer on a building that's not even for sale.
Yeah.
That they don't even know if you're
in hopes that we would open up a cafe there, But I mean, the space was amazing. So it was basically bar after bar throughout the years. People were like, it was a brothel upstairs. Like, it's got some crazy history to it.
Well, we found a hot tub in the floor, so that was
hot tub.
Yeah.
Okay, in Crown Brew right now, where was was it upstairs or downstairs?
Where the couches are.
Where the couch in the big glass room, the big glass or
like
window room, the big
yeah.
window room. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a hot tub there.
Mm-hmm. You can kind of see where we poured the concrete.
Red velvet wallpaper everywhere.
Oh, wow.
I think I saved some of the wallpaper if you ever want to frame it. Yeah.
So it was rough in there.
Yeah.
It was rough.
But it had potential.
It did.
You guys saw it, and now it's Crown Brew.
Yeah. So we did, renovated it through COVID, which honestly, the timing was really great for us because we would have been closed anyways. And so, worked on the building and basically turned it into absolute beyond a dream cafe, beyond what I could have, imagined.
Yeah, it's
and
amazing.
So I'm just, so happy to see it and kind of what it is for the Marion community right now. And yeah, it's been awesome. So I love it.
Yeah.
So thanks,
it was
Jill.
a long journey.
You saved our business.
No.
Literally.
No, but you guys would have made it regardless. But it was a really, like you said earlier, like it was just meant to be. It was kind of an emotional process. And look at it. Well, that was in 19. I guess it was the fall of 19 when you were out of that space, and then you guys were in there renovating the fall, and then March of 2020, COVID hit, and it was like, well, this is it. And I know you guys went through a lot when COVID happened, and I know, talk about maybe a little bit of that experience and maybe how the bank might have played a role in helping with some of that, or what you guys were doing. I know you mentioned having set up carts everywhere, and how did you make it through?
Yeah. I mean, it was scary. Every business, we would connect to every business, and they were afraid. We'd go in other businesses and connect to other business owners, and they'd just start bursting into tears. Like, it was such a scary time for small businesses. I think what was amazing is the banks, it almost was like banks turned into like hospitals, like emergency zones of like, okay, we're going to do everything we can to like help get you like PPP funds and grants, money, all that kind of stuff to like make sure that we are like staying afloat. And so, everybody that helped us out in that time to make sure that we got, the PPP funds and every financial opportunity. I mean, that it saved us during that time. Absolutely. And so, that's another reason why banking with the community bank is imperative. We could go through another situation like that, but if you don't have relationship with people that know what they're doing and can help you and care about your small business, you're really alone. And I think what I'm so thankful for is, I felt so surrounded in that time by amazing people and resources that cared. And so, it was like everybody was just trying to help each other out. And, we ended up starting Marion United to help kind of raise grants and funds for other local businesses during that time as well. And so it was just such a beautiful time for the community to come together and help each other.
Tell us more about Marion United.
Yeah, what is it exactly, and how did you guys start it? And I mean, you raised a lot of money for the community. So tell us about it.
It was kind of crazy. So we had my business partner, Josh, we basically got lunch somewhere and met with the owner of this business, and, they were crying. They were just so distraught by what was happening. He didn't know if they'd be able to make it. And we were distraught by that conversation. And we're like, how can we help? Like, what do you do? How do you help a community without bringing people together? Because the thing about COVID is we're all isolated and, Yeah. And so, we were sitting in this truck, we were praying, like literally asking God for like ideas and wisdom, what to do. I saw this like picture in my mind of like a television of people playing music and then like a number scrolling. Like, like whenever there's like emergencies, like earthquakes or something, they'll do like these benefit concerts on
In the arms
exactly.
of the angel.
And so I was like, what if we did, a benefit concert and had local musicians and, influential leaders in the community come and speak and share hope and encouragement, and people can call in and donate money, and the money will go towards providing grants for local businesses who have been affected by COVID. So we called the mayor literally like that hour, and we're like, this is our idea. Like, what can we do? He's like, let's make it happen. So within 2 weeks, we had this event and raised almost $300,000 for 111 local businesses who had been affected by the pandemic.
That's amazing.
It was amazing the way the community came together to like support this cause. And then other cities followed suit and did the same thing as well. So it was really cool to like, connect with other communities who are wanting to do the same thing. And so, it was just amazing to kind of see that kind of response from people. Yeah, and so we created a website, a brand, T-shirts, logo, all that
I
stuff.
love that like the mayor Absher was on board.
Yeah.
And that you could call him and he's like, let's do it. Because there's not a lot of political figures that are like that.
Or as accessible as he is.
Totally.
I mean, that's so important. Think about that. I don't think there's many mayors out there that you could just call and have a meeting the same day without going jumping through hoops. No. But you created this like butterfly effect with all of these like other people wanting to do the same thing. So you really were inspirational in that. That's pretty great. I love that.
Fun.
I think about this ripple effect, and for me, because I'm an outsider, if you think about it, you guys kind of have the inside scoop on Crown Brew, but like before I worked at Farmers and before I knew either of you, for me, looking at Crown Brew was the like the starting point for the renovation of the square. And maybe it wasn't the first building that started that, or you weren't the first person that started that, but for me, looking at it from a consumer's view, like Crown Brew like started the kickoff of like all these beautiful buildings being renovated and businesses moving into the square. And so tell me like about that. Like, do you feel that way? Do you feel like your business, did that for the square?
I mean, I don't know. I think that when we were kind of one of the first to move in and start renovating buildings, I think for us, like we wanted other people to see the potential of the downtown. And right. I think, the ripple effect was, when you see this one building turn into this building, that means the other buildings can, do the same, and then, with all the murals and art that came up downtown, I mean, I think it really just inspired people to see the value in the downtown community. And I think another thing is what business owners want is they want community themselves in relationship with their business neighbors, and that kind of stuff as well. And so I do think that it does kind of ripple into other businesses. And right now, I think pretty much every building has been bought and renovated, and it's beautiful. It's amazing. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I love that. And also the city was very welcoming. I feel like there were I know there was grant money available for a lot of these businesses to come and move there and be a part of something that was happening. And I think that's a draw too, let's go be a part of this. They're making it easy to move in. I know there's TIF funding and all that good stuff too that they offer downtown Marion, which is just, I don't know. I think that's incredible.
Yeah. I think so many people too, they're like, oh, I don't want to open up a business in a small town. Like it's not going to do well and blah, blah, blah. Actually, it's the complete opposite. Yeah. Like
we're dying to do something.
Yeah. It's like you're going to have like relationships with your community bank, which is incredible, with the mayor, the city officials. The cost is going to be a lot more affordable to open and operate a business than it would be in like a major city. You really develop those close friendships and relationships with other business owners as well. And so I'm just like a huge believer in, being invested in like a small community as well. It adds a lot of value.
Absolutely. Is there any other way you would say that, or how else would you say that your relationship with the small bank has really benefited you? Is there any other? I know you mentioned
he got hired.
I know, yeah.
We hired him at the community bank.
Yeah. But I know you mentioned earlier, like the mastermind profit first and like that kind of stuff. Do you find that there's more resources available for you, or more access to it because of it? I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I even this podcast itself, I mean, other places aren't doing this kind of stuff. These podcasts, the way that you're teaching people how they should invest their money and use their spending wisely, all those kinds of things. These podcasts alone have helped me personally with my finances and what to do, even how I'm banking. And so, just what you're doing, I think, is adding so much value. That's why I'm always talking about, even before I started working for Farmers, I'm like, I will always preach the gospel of Farmers State Bank because of the value that they're adding to people, and it's genuine and it's authentic and it's real. And for me, like I wanted to be a part of that culture. I'm so honored to now work and kind of share that. And through marketing, I love marketing and I love sharing stories, and I love, helping other people see the beauty in what's happening. And so, but yeah, I just think, with the financial literacy courses that, Farmers does for the community, this podcast,
Small Business Success Series. We did that last year.
Yeah, it's amazing. And then just the development of the staff. Like there's not a single person that works at Farmers that isn't so deeply trained to understand the needs of the customer and to give proper recommendation of what they need. It's not like, oh, you need to open up an account. Okay. But they're actually like, okay, how are you spending your money? What's important to you? Like, what's your long-term goals? Like, how are you wanting to save? Like, what's important for you in your business and all these kinds of things. Like, oh, you have a business and a personal account. Let's join them together so you don't have to do 50 million logins. Like, let's make this as easy as possible for you. And so I'm just like, man, this is incredible.
Yeah. Well, that's so good to hear. I love it. Thank you.
Yeah.
So last year, we farmers bought the insurance company. It's just now FSB Insurance. And Jill and I know, like everything else in the bank, like that was another part of our jobs that we were going to have to take on, marketing a whole nother business. And so we got extremely overwhelmed and we were talking and...
Well, not only did we buy the insurance agency, we were also opening a brand new branch. And so with that,
and
Ashley,
just our stuff, like starting a podcast and all these ideas and wanting to do, but only having so much capacity. And Jill just kept saying like, we need help. And I'm like, our brains are like wired together. So I'm like, we need to find someone that can be on the same page as us and do things the way that we do things. And we literally just were always like, thinking of somebody. And Tom's even so funny. He's like texting me and he's like, Ashley, need you to find a Christian that's really good at marketing. We're like, okay, we'll find somebody. And we just couldn't think of anybody, but you were like, I just want it to be Jared, but I don't want to ask Jared because I know he's busy, but I just want it to be Jared. Yeah. And I'm like, well, I think Jared's the only person I would probably work with too in this area. Yeah. I don't know anybody that's that like...
Well, I think we were looking at what we're really good at. And I know, you are really good at like seeing the opportunities at the bank that we're not maybe servicing right now and how we could be better at that. And I've kind of moved over to more of like the creative, like the podcast and taking on some of that stuff of preparing for that. And
you're like a whole branch manager too.
A branch manager and designing a bank.
And furniture orderer.
Rolling out or hiring new employees. But we wear a lot of hats at Farmers State Bank. We'll just say that. But we needed somebody who could fill that creative side. And when we thought of somebody, I immediately said, well, of course we want the most Instagrammable
Jared Gravatt.
TikTok famous.
Yeah. Because he was always on it. He's always on. I love that we're talking about him like he's not here. But
I'm loving it too. Keep going.
Yeah, keep going. Tell me more. But no, you're so, like how you talk about your space, like you wanted it to be so aesthetically pleasing. And like, I think that's so important when you're doing a coffee shop or something like that. But you are so good at social media, editing, photography. Like you do photography, right? Like on the side. So... And Jill and I would always struggle with photography. Like, I don't want to go take photos of someone today. And so it was like all these little holes that we needed filled or someone to be better than we were at it. It was like, Jared.
Yeah. You're like the perfect third corner
of our triangle. But Jared's not going to do it. He's too busy making coffee and TikToking.
I know. So when I did reach out, I mean, what were your initial thoughts?
Because So a lot of people don't know this, but like, I love marketing. I remember when we started Crown Brew, we were at this place serving and someone goes, "You're really good at marketing." And I was like, "Thank you." And I didn't know what marketing like meant or was. I literally turned around and Googled like, what is marketing? Swear to God.
Thank you.
And so, but then I was like researching, I'm like, I love marketing. I love it. And so ended up starting a marketing company called Goldridge Creative and did marketing for John A. Logan for a while and just was really self-taught and learning all the different ways about marketing. And I loved it. I loved marketing for small businesses. I love storytelling. I love capturing things and making it beautifully aesthetic. And so, for a while I wasn't, doing that as much. And so when you approached me and like had offered me that job, I'm like, this is literally perfect. I love, one, I believe so much in Farmers State Bank, and two, like I love, marketing. I love storytelling and all those kinds of things. And so for me, it was like a no-brainer. I was like, absolutely, yes. I love everything about this. It was like, it was so perfect. It was like the perfect opportunity. And so now we do both. And I have an amazing team at Crown Brew that runs everything, and, they're doing an incredible job. And so I can kind of, do this and that. And so for me, I'm like so fulfilled. I'm doing everything that I love. Like I'm literally living my dream right now. And I'm so happy.
I want you to talk about how, you did kind of have to step away because you were involved. I mean, you're still very involved in your business, but you took on a full-time position. And so what can you say to business owners that maybe like could have the same opportunity as you one day to maybe go work like a regular job, but still own their business? Like, what's your encouragement to them? Or like, if they're scared to do that, or they think their business is going to fail, like, what is that looking like for you?
Yeah. It's all about hiring a team. We talk about in business, like hiring people better than you. and so really being proactive and like putting people in situations to do not only the things that you can do, but doing it better than you can. And so, one of the things I'm like thankful for is just the ability to delegate and empower people to own their own jobs and what they're doing. And those kinds of things. I think you got to do what you love. So many people leave their 9 to 5 to run their small business, and that's what they love to do. Mm-hmm. And then some people may want that business to exist, but then maybe there's a 9 to 5 job that they want to take that's going to add more value to their own life. That's kind of been my story. Is I've went from 9 to 5 to full-time of the small business, but then I'm like, there's more I want to be doing. And so when this opportunity came out, I'm like, I want to take it because I want to do everything that I love, Mm-hmm. And so, but sometimes you can't fully do both all on your own. And so it's all about, just empowering people and delegating and putting people in places, that you see can be successful. So
I love what you said about hiring people better than you, because truly that's what you have to do, right? In order for your company to grow and do well and prosper. Mm-hmm. You always want to hire the best.
Yeah.
Better than you. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Cool. And how fortunate for you that your 9 to 5 is at a bank. So it's like you're a banker now. So now you can help your own business. You don't like when I say that you're a banker, but you are.
It's so funny though, because like we've been doing like our team trainings at the coffee shop, and I'm constantly referring to the bank and the things that I've learned through this hiring process of like the training that we have to go through of just company culture. And there has been so many things I've taken from the bank that I've learned from the company culture training and implementing that into my own business. I'm like, this is so valuable. I feel like I'm getting like the fact that I'm learning all these like valuable tools, and then now I can now like apply it into like the coffee company. And so it's amazing. I'm constantly talking about the bank when I'm, coaching the employees and stuff like that. So
that's awesome. Yeah. I know there was a section we had on training where you talked about how to have crucial conversations. I'm like, man, if everybody cannot take that and use it in their personal life, I don't know.
Yeah.
But it was so
handle
good.
Conflict, how to, even greet customers and, the customer service experience and all those kinds of things. Like, it's so important. I'm like, I hope every business could like, learn how to do what the bank is doing. It's awesome.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. I'm so glad to have you on our team.
I'm happy to be on the team.
And I'm so thankful you were able to join us today for this episode, talking about how a bank can have a great relationship with a small business. So thank you, Jared.
I feel honored. Thanks for having me.
We'll see you at the office.
Yeah. No kidding. Thank you all for joining us for this episode of Isn't That Rich? And we will see you next week.
See you next week. So Jill, where do we go from here?
Be sure to check out our show notes for this episode, and also be sure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our newsletter. We'll see you next week.
See you next week.